Hello, this is Tyler Beamer from Haywood Community College. This is an instructional video for Math 143 in A1. The purpose of this video is to go over a compound interest formula, describe how to use the compound interest formula to calculate final amount of invested money, while also showing how to use the graphing calculator as an aid in solving the problem. Here is the problem that I got from a MyMathLab example. Use the appropriate compound interest formula to compute the balance in the account after the stated period of time. And here's the information from the problem. $23,000 is invested for 3 years with an APR, annual percentage rate, of 2% and daily compounding. Here is the compound interest formula. A, which is the final amount, equals principal, P, times 1 plus R divided by N. R is the interest rate as a decimal. N is the number of times that it's compounded. And T is the time in years. So for this particular problem, our principal is $23,000, which is how much is invested. The rate, which is 2% as a decimal, is 0.02. To make any percentage a decimal, we move the decimal to the left 2 places. In this case, N is 365 since it is compounded daily. The value of N is determined upon how many times the interest is compounded, and that information should be given to you in the problem. In this case, keyword here is daily compounding, so that's why N is 365. And then T is 3 years. Okay. I have graphing calculator here. You don't necessarily need a graphing calculator to solve this problem. This just happens to be what I can show on my computer. And I wanted to use it to show you some tips about how to keep the decimal place consistent when solving this particular problem or any compound interest problem. A key point of emphasis when solving compound interest problems is to use all of the decimal places when you are computing, and not to round any of the decimal places until your final answer, in which you will round to the hundredth place or the second decimal place, since we're talking about money. Okay, so I put in the information from the problem into the specific variables, which is located here. Okay, move down in the problem. You can see the work has already been typed up. I'll also show the calculations on the calculator. I would not advise trying to put this entire thing in the calculator at once and then hitting enter. You may be able to do that, but you've got to make sure that you use the correct order of operations when you type it in, which involves using lots of parentheses, and that can be kind of confusing. So I recommend doing the exponential part first. 365 times 3, 10,095. Okay, and I would recommend keeping the problem organized, rewriting, doing each specific piece while following the order of operations. Then I would calculate the inside of the parentheses. So 0.02 divided by 365. And notice I've got a really big decimal here. This is scientific notation. This E tells us that's scientific notation. So that's pretty much this decimal times 10 to the negative 5th power. So really this answer is put in the standard form by moving this decimal to the left 5 places. And that's what this exponent signifies here. So that is scientific notation. However, I could just hit +1 and it saves my answer. So it takes the previous answer, adds it to 1, and then now it takes it out of scientific notation. And I would want to use that entire decimal, and that decimal is located right here. Okay. Then I would want to take that to the 1095th power. Once again, here's my exponent button. A and S is answer, so it's taking my previous answer and allowing me to use all of those decimal places, so I'm not rounding it any. Hit enter. Once again, I have all of those decimal places. I'm not rounding any of it. times that by 23,000, which is the final step. Okay, and then at this point, right, the problem's completed. I could round this answer to the hundredths place, which is the second decimal, which in this case is $24,422.20, since we're talking about money. Okay. Hopefully this video helps you in getting the correct answers for compound interest. Like I said, you do not want to round any throughout the problem. Any rounding is compounded. I mean, if you think about this particular decimal, if we round that to 1.0, we're cutting off all of these decimal places 1,095 times, since it's taken to the 1,095th power. So rounding causes lots of error in your final answer. So do not round. Use all of the decimal places until the final end answer and round that to the hundredths. If you have any questions, please email me, stop by office hours, and I will definitely be happy to help you. Thank you, and have a great day.